All right. Now I'm recording and you're starting.
Welcome, everybody. This is Mark.
And this is Lynetta.
And welcome to Live Ablaze.
Hey. Thank you.
Thank you all for being here. We're really honored to be with all of you. And we're actually going to do things a little differently today in a few ways. One way is we're actually going to ask for your support because we're designing a new program. We want to get your input on it to see how you all think it meets the needs of everyday people like you and me. So we'll be getting to that later today. But what we're going to start out with is what's been going on with all of you with the tools that we've shared so far. We'd like to get some feedback from you. Of course, we're going to do a little bit of laser coaching later on and whatever is coming up, particularly any limiting beliefs. And also going to share some insights that we had. And to start, though, we're actually going to start with a story. And this is a story of Walt Jones, who was originally from Tacoma, Washington. And the story about Walt is he outlived his third wife, to whom he was married for 52 years. And when she died, someone said to Walt that it must be sad losing such a long-time friend. And his response was, well, yeah, of course it was, but then again, it may be for the best. Why was that? Well, I don't want to be negative or say anything to defame her wonderful character, but she kind of petered out on me in the last decade. When asked to explain, he went on to add, she just never wanted to do anything. She just kind of became a stick in the mud. 10 years ago, when I was 94, I told my wife, we haven't seen anything except the beautiful Pacific Northwest. And she asked what was on my mind, and I said, I was thinking about getting a motorhome, and maybe we could visit the 48 contiguous states. What do you think of that? And she said, well, Walt, I think you're out of your mind. Why do you say that, I asked. We might get mugged out there. We'd die, and maybe there wouldn't be a funeral parlor. And then she asked, and who's going to drive, Walt? And I said, I am, Lambie. And she said, well, you might kill us. And then I replied, I'd like to make some footprints in the sand of time before I check out. But you can't make footprints in the sand of time if you're sitting on your butt, unless you intend to make butt prints in the sand of time. Well, now that she's gone, Walt, what do you intend to do? What do I intend to do? I buried the old gal and I bought me a motorhome. And this was back in 1976, and I decided to visit all 48 of the states to celebrate our bicentennial. So Walt got to 43 of the states that year selling curios and souvenirs. And he hadn't been in his motorhome but a few months, and his wife had only been married for about 6 months. And he was seen driving down the street with a rather attractive 62-year-old woman at his side. Walt, he was asked. Yes, he replied. Who's that woman sitting by your side? Who's your new lady friend, Walt? To which he replied, yes, she is. Yes, she is what? My lady friend. Lady friend? Walt, you've been married 3 times. You're 104 years of age. This woman must be 4 decades younger than you. Well, he responded, I quickly discovered that man cannot live by motorhome alone. I can understand that, Walt. You probably miss having someone to talk to after having had a companion for all those years. Without hesitation, Walt replied, I miss that too. Too? Are you inferring that you have a romantic interest? I just might. Walt! What? He said. There comes a time in a person's life when to knock that stuff off. Sex? He replied. Yes. Why? He asked. Well, because that kind of physical exertion could be hazardous to a person's health. Walt considered the question carefully and then said, well, if she dies, she dies. So the point is there are no limitations to anything we do. So Walt being 104, he had no concerns that he couldn't live life to the fullest. And having a woman 4 decades his junior made no difference to him. He was completely going for it. And that's kind of the motto for what we're out. we're out to live a life with no limitations whatsoever. And whenever they come up, we go straight for it and we clear whatever's in our way. So in fact, Lynette and I had one this morning when we woke up and we were talking about building our business and being in the public eye. And all of a sudden, Lynette had a bit of a hesitancy. You want to share what was coming on?
Sure. I was just thinking about being in front of a lot of people, and my teeth have, since I was very young, have always been something that I would hide my smile, or I was hoping to someday get braces, and our family that wasn't something that they would put money towards. It wasn't even a consideration to go to a doctor unless you had lost a limb or something and you're, had blood everywhere. Then maybe you might go to the hospital, but for our teeth, that wasn't usually a priority. So,
and just to get a little graphical here, and Lynette actually agreed as soon as we get the video working again, we're actually going to zoom in on her gorgeous teeth. You can see exactly what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Because she's really been horrified by it for most of her life.
Yeah.
And there's like one tooth, one of the eye teeth is kind of like jutting out sideways, and we kind of jokingly call it the vampire tooth.
Yeah, so kids would make fun of me, and, it was always kind of something that I didn't want to really show my smile, but then later on I thought, I'm not going to not smile because of this. So I have, broken through that not smiling with the pictures, but it's like being seen in front of a lot of people, I get real conscious because I'm like, oh, they're definitely not white, and they've got dark spots here and there, and they're crooked, and it's the first thing that I think that people are looking at when they're looking at me. So it's like, no, I don't think I can go that far unless I start working on my teeth. So I have been going to the dentist, and I'm starting the process of getting orthodontics. And I'm not going to let that stop me. This morning we really cleared through whatever that may be stopping me from that, and I am not going to allow that to be a stop in showing up in public.
Yeah, and one of the things that we basically decided was no matter what, we're getting her teeth fixed.
Yeah.
And it's like money is not going to be a stop. Like Lynette just decided, I'm going to have perfect teeth. End of story.
Yeah.
And it's just like, and it's that sandwich technique that we discussed a few calls ago that goes, I'm having whatever it is you want in your life. And then the voices kick in, it's going to cost a lot of money, it may take years, whatever it is. And then you say, and I'm going to have my teeth exactly the way I want, or whatever it is. So just this morning, we were using that same technique that we're having it no matter what.
Yeah, and it's funny, it's been something that's been so natural to put on the back shelf. Like another thing in our family, fun always came first. So it wasn't like there wasn't money. There was money for sailing, and my dad had an airplane and flew, and we always had really nice clothes. And now this is my experience of growing up. My little sister, who's 11 years younger, and she's on this call, Rachel, she didn't have the experience of that because later on in years, when she was growing up, there wasn't money. But I had the experience of having a lot of money, and still my health, it felt like my teeth were always put on the shelf. And so I've done that in my life too. I've had lots of money to do workshops and things that are really important, that I felt were more important, and I put my teeth on the back shelf. But it's actually very important to me, so I'm putting it back. I'm making it a priority now. And Rachel has her own story about her teeth too, and she has actually gotten dental work and got braces. Did you, Rachel? Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah. So do you want to share your experience with your teeth, what you did?
Yeah, so growing up, I lost my two front teeth when I was little, and I grew back my adult teeth way too soon, and I had a 10 millimeter overjet, so I would have buck teeth, and my teeth is even worse than the teeth as a child was what I saw in my own reflection. I always needed to and smile, and everybody who knows me is really what to do, and when I did laugh and smile, I purposely learned how to manipulate
Rachel,
Rachel,
can you hear us?
people to see it.
Wherever you are, Rachel, the signal's pretty weak, apparently.
Never an option even for pain, let alone for that. So when I was about 25, it just so happened that it was I'll try to talk. Oh, can you hear me now? Okay.
Go ahead, Rachel. Sorry, say again.
Are we good?
Yeah, that's good. Okay. So give us the 20-second summary of what you just said, since it came out pretty garbled on our end.
Okay, so long story short, the nugget of it is that I made it a priority in my life, even though I didn't have any money in my life.
Mm-hmm.
I was able to get my teeth corrected.
Cool. So you just decided you were going to have it no matter what also.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Awesome. Thank you, Rachie.
Cool.
Mm-hmm. So we want to make sure everybody's got a pen and pad, too, because we're going to be sharing some really important pieces. And we'd like you to stay on for the whole call because we're going to create a full sensory guided meditation. And I'm going to do that and demonstrate our mind mapping technique that's going to be very valuable for you to manifest what you want to around your wealth. So, and magnetizing money.
Yeah, so make sure you stay on for the next hour because she's going to do that as a last part of our call.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, so let's hear a little bit of sharing. Who else would like to share what's been going on the last week with, everything that we've done so far?
And Rachel, do you want to start?
No, not right now. Thank you.
Okay.
Marilyn, anything you'd like to share with us?
I've been feeling the energy shift since we've done the white lizard statements.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been feeling more positive and feeling how you would probably say above the bar rather than below the bar on an energy level.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And that's been a tough thing for me to do until I implemented that technique.
Nice.
So you're talking about the subconscious statements, the ones that kind of don't make sense?
Yeah.
Wonderful.
You want to say those?
Yeah. Is there like a particular one you've been using that's been particularly effective for you? One or two?
I have over 200 right now.
Whoa!
Wow!
We created a document. When we got off the call, I created a document, and any time in my mind throughout the day when an issue would come up, those voices that would come into my mind, the negative ones, and I would reverse them into Voyager statements that were positive, and I would add them to the document. So since you first introduced that concept to us a couple weeks ago, I now have over 200. And my plan is, what I do is, when I'm driving, just to make sure I have some statements in my mind, I start thinking of them. Just a few, obviously not 200, but just a few of them. And I make sure while I'm driving that I have that positive energy emanating from myself while I'm driving. And then when I go to sleep at night, I have a printed list of the most current ones, like version, because I add to them almost daily now. And I read it. I think about each one, and I read each one through the list before I go to sleep.
Wow, that's awesome. Can you give us a few of them that you can remember off the top of your head?
I'm sitting at my computer.
That's really helpful for all of us, and, you know, it sounds like you've mastered it.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I've got a lot of,
Yeah, I'm excited to hear them.
why is it I am forgiving of others?
Nice.
Why is it I'm able to do difficult tasks and be perfectly healthy while doing them? Because I figured out through going into myself on a deeper level that I was programmed growing up to be really stressed out while I was doing difficult tasks. And one of the things that I did myself is I would become ill. And so that was for me to come to an awareness level of all of these things. And I started out with just a few we did on the phone, and then to come up with over 200 now of my own. To me, it's a positive, happy thought, and it's also an upsetting thought that there are that many. If that makes sense.
Oh, upsetting. That's interesting.
Because I'm having to reprogram myself with this many.
Oh, I see. Because you're coming up with so many limiting beliefs.
It's from the programming from childhood. I had a really abusive childhood, so I have a lot of things that I have over the last 20 or 30 years been trying to remove through processes, healing processes, and things like that. And I'm always open to looking for new and different ways of approaching the same issues, because I don't feel that I'm as healed as I'd like to be. And so this is one of them that actually works for me.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. Good job.
Wow. What else have you done that's worked for you?
I took some classes many years ago on removing DNA patterning.
Mm-hmm.
And so I do that on myself sometimes daily. Just whenever the issues come up, I will do that. And that's your why is taking something negative and converting it into something positive. And the DNA patterning is to remove the negative energies from your spirit. With a different
Got it.
Working on the energetic patterning. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So it sounds like this is all working pretty well for you.
Yes. I'm very appreciative. I'm very grateful of you too, and being able to find you, because I know that throughout my life, you know, something could come through my awareness, or through my life, or through an email, or through someone telling me something, and I won't be able to hear it, or won't be able to see it. And I'm also seeing that energy clear as well. That I'm seeing things I may not have seen before, because my energy space is clearing, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. I've seen that happen too. When I clear up, like, then it seems to, even electronics work better when I'm clear.
Yeah. You mentioned that you felt a little bit of struggle, though, that you've been uncovering so many limiting beliefs, like a little bit of overwhelm, that like you've got a list of like a couple hundred now.
Right.
Do you still feel that at this moment?
I'm sorry?
Are you still feeling a little bit of that? Maybe overwhelm's not the right word, but just that there's just been so many. Are you feeling a little challenged about that? I understand this is working for you and it's great, but are you feeling challenged that there's so many that you've been uncovering?
It's a disconcerting thought. I'm trying not to focus on that energy and just focus on that I have them to my awareness level, so that I can realize them and write them down and change them. And so I'm focusing on that.
Okay. Yeah. So let's change that, because that's actually a little bit energetically blocking as well. So what if we actually turn this into something good? That, wow, how wonderful is it that all my limiting beliefs are coming up now to be cleared? Like, I'm nailing them all. Like, wow, 200 of them, and I've nailed 200. Fabulous. Thank God. How does that feel?
That's good. I'm just typing a new why is it for that. Thank you.
Yeah, and also, I forget, do you work in the healing field?
Not yet. That is my eventual goal.
That's sure. Okay. All right. So if we go back to the soul perspective, which we've shared before, if you came here, let's say, to be in service to people who have had abusive backgrounds like you have, and unfortunately, one might say, the best way to do that from the soul perspective is to experience it. You've had some, pardon the expression, great experiences at learning the way human beings should not be treated and what we do with that. And now you've got some amazing techniques to help people clear it. Yes?
Yeah. Yeah.
So can you even go a step further and have gratitude that you were so courageous as a soul to experience everything that you did in this lifetime? So I get it wasn't easy. But you were willing to have the courage to experience all that in order for you to be able to help others, for you to clear it for yourself, and eventually be in service to others, which I'm hearing from you is something you really want to do.
Okay, I'm typing one for that. Thank you.
Now it's a bit of a stretch, but do you think you can go that extra mile and actually feel a gratitude for all these limiting beliefs, how they got created, the fact you're identifying them, the fact you've got tools to clear them, and the fact that you're going to be able to use this to help others in a huge way?
Yes, thank you for that perspective. I appreciate that. I added that to my what is it list.
I don't know if you've ever experienced, Marilyn, having somebody teach something that you really got that they didn't know themselves, like they may have learned it somewhere else, or they maybe heard it from somebody else, but when they spoke, they didn't have a whole lot of power behind it because they didn't actually walk through the valley of, shadow or whatever, the valley of death,
Right.
I mean, somebody who has been there, done that, has a certain authority when they speak because they have transformed it at such a deep level, and really they know the steps. It makes you an instant expert when you have mastered it.
It's real, as opposed to a lot of people who are out there who are sharing things they may have studied from books, but they just don't get it.
Yeah.
And Renetta, could you just share your particular experience you're referring to? Is that like the jail?
Yeah, I remember when I was actually getting clean and sober, and when I had psychiatrists or counselors, and I learned after a while to interview them, and I would ask them, well, what have you been through? Like, tell me, and if they didn't have any experience with living on the street, doing heroin, cocaine, or doing something that was at least equivalent to what I'd been through, I was like, well, you really don't know what you're talking about. I mean, I couldn't listen to them. So I have gone through being homeless, being on the streets, and just like no hope. I've been suicidal for years. I was so miserable, and there was absolutely I had no way out. Like, there didn't seem to be any solution, or, like, I would go to counselors, psychiatrists. I tried all of the world religions, all of them, and none of them were able to give me some answers that would, like, really shift my life in any way. So it took many years of transformational work and classes, workshops, life coaches, and investigating different religions and spiritual truths. It's taken me maybe 25 years to get where I am now, and thousands of dollars later. And so that's what my deep desire with sharing this with everyone is like, I just would love to help you shorten the time and the money and energy that you need to do what I did in, half the time and half of the money that it takes to do it. So I really see, Marilyn, that what you have gone through and what everybody on the call has gone through their own challenges that it's like, wow, I went through that and mastered it and transformed it in such a way that I can see that what I went through was such a valuable gift to share with others. It makes you an amazing gift to the world when you share it. So a lot of people, I didn't share my story always. I'm just coming out with sharing this. When I left Mariposa in 2004, I wasn't going to share what I've been through. I didn't want people to know. I wanted to be a yoga instructor and not be known as any of that. I left it up in the hills. Just now I've been sharing it because I get that it's actually a very powerful tool for others to get where I've been. Even if you haven't come close to coming through some of the things that I have or doing some of these things, it's like if I can overcome these, and I have tools that can help you with that, with transforming at the level that from where I was, you can certainly do it from where you are and having maybe hopefully gone through less than what I did. Like I really went through the school of hard knocks, but you don't have to go that low to get it, And I can share these. I feel like they're very valuable to people for me to share it. And you can share what you've been through too without being embarrassed about your story, about what you did. Mm-hmm. Like there is no shame in it when it's a gift to others.
Yeah. Yeah. Does that resonate with you, Marilyn?
Yes, I understand where you're coming from. I've seen it in my life when I've gone to spiritual workshops and someone has said something to me, like one time someone complained they were very upset and very angry about how their parents were treating them. And I just looked at that person, and I said, have you asked your parents about their childhood?
Yeah.
The person just stopped, and they got this really shocked look on their face, and they looked at me and said, what are you talking about? And I said, you know what you've gone through because of how your parents have treated you. Have you ever had a talk with your mom and your dad and asked them what they went through when they were growing up?
Yeah.
Yep.
And that really shut the person up on blaming their parents, because I've heard psychologically that a lot of the abuse is generational.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Both of us have awarenesses of generational stuff in both of our families.
Right.
Yeah, that's almost always for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and yet the little kid in us also doesn't really care about why, like, I've even heard this from my son, him saying, Mom, I don't care about how much abuse you had when you were young. He just wants his mom. He just wants what he wants from his mom. And I get that too, that as a child, they just want what they want, You wanted to be loved the way you wanted to be loved, and that's okay. It's all right. It doesn't mean that you're going to stay stuck in the story of blaming your parents. But there is power in giving a voice to your younger self, your inner child, and allowing her to say, it was really tough, and I wanted to be loved this way, and then parenting your inner child and giving your child the love. Now, how does this relate to money? I'm like hearing people in the background, well, how is all of this relating to money? It absolutely is underneath the money. I kept hearing for years that people were telling me that saying that there's issues underneath the money that I'm like, what do you mean? I just need to pay my bills. What does money have to do with all of these things that we're talking about? It's a placeholder. The money is just a placeholder for all these unresolved issues that haven't been handled, where you don't feel loved, you don't feel connected, and money is an excuse for all these underlying issues.
Great. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. Sounds like you're in pretty good shape, Marilyn?
Yes.
Good, good. Can I request one thing? Would you be able to either email or post on the Facebook group that list you have so far? Maybe we could share that?
Yeah, I don't have a Facebook account.
Okay.
Can you email it to Market and Lynetta at liveablaze.com? Just reply to the email. And if you need to edit out a few of them because they're too personal, that's fine. But I think it would be great to share some of this stuff with people.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Wonderful. So who else would like to share with us what's going on in your life? Irene, Susan, Heather.
How about Irene? We haven't heard from you, and you have an opportunity now. I would jump in and take it.
Mm-hmm.
How about Susan? Are you there?
Yeah.
Actually, I'm in a good space. I'm in a good space.
Okay.
Everything's working well?
So far, I'm just in a mode of inquiry.
Gotcha.
Okay. Are you finding this call useful so far, or is there an area that we haven't covered that you need?
No, this content, I wish I could get on every week. It's very difficult to see, like, the sharing and simply parts of and the sharing aspects of being on
Susan, your call is breaking up pretty bad. Is there maybe you can move around a little bit and get a better signal?
Yeah, we're
only catching like every other word.
We're not really able to hear you. Yeah.
Mark and Lynetta?
Yeah.
This is Heather.
Hey, Heather.
I'm not sharing for the same reason. Because I'm losing chunks of conversation. I think it's my phone, but I'd rather listen to the replay if you don't mind. Because it's really frustrating. I'm not hearing. Okay.
Well, no, what you're not hearing, Heather, we're not hearing either. So it's not at your end.
Yeah.
In other words, the other people's phones aren't having good enough reception.
Yeah.
So we're missing the same thing you are. So I wouldn't let that hold you back.
But even when you're speaking.
Oh, that's
when you're speaking, it's breaking up.
Oh.
Yeah, you guys are breaking up a little bit. This is Frank. It's not as bad as some of the others, but from time to time, you guys will cut out a bit.
Wow. Okay, that's good to know.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're still working on technology.
Yeah, I thought the conference calls were like the best so far is what we were feeling, but.
All right. Yeah, thank you both for letting us know.
Yeah, and if it's too challenging, can you let us know, Franco, if it gets too challenging, and we'll even, if we need to, we'll get off the line and call back.
Yeah.
I shall. I am trying to get every tidbit I can from what everyone's saying, but I'll speak up.
Okay, great.
And please forgive me ahead of time if I actually interrupt to let you guys know. So I ask your pardon.
No, we actually want to know that. Yeah, if there's quality problems, we absolutely want to know. So thank you.
Yeah.
So, Susan, looks like you jumped back on. Do you want to try to share again?
Oh, sure.
Oh, there you go.
You're very clear. You're real clear now. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. No, these calls I wish I could go on every Tuesday. I believe that there's only really one of us in the world. And so every share, I see aspects of myself in every share. And then as you coach, I see aspects of myself thinking, yeah, that sounds like a great idea. That's something that I could do. Or It's like, yeah, that is exactly what I would tell that person to do, but not really exactly because you guys are really good at what you do. But these calls are just amazing. I think it's an amazing effort you do for everyone who gets on this call and notice people participate when they share. They don't share.
All right. Well, we got the first part. Yeah, and now it's breaking up again.
Yeah.
So thank you for what you did share. All right. Who else would like to share? Franco?
Can you guys hear me? I just want to make sure.
Perfect. Yeah.
Okay.
Go for it.
Good. And please let me know if I come in topic because I have to admit that I am on my cell phone.
Okay. No, that's perfect. Yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I would like to add some. I feel a little ashamed because I really don't have any victories to share. Mine has been a bit of a very challenging week. I've started submitting resumes.
Mm-hmm.
I've submitted. I've got in contact with two placement agencies and submitted my resume to a friend of mine who's trying to get me a job, at least as a contractor where he's at. I haven't heard anything yet, but that was about a week ago. And I think I had mentioned to you guys before that my worst enemy is basically my mind, and which is unfortunately still playing that part. I've tried some of the exercises in terms of writing down, being in the future, writing down, there is a reason why I'm going through what I'm going through today, so I can have empathy and sympathy and compassion for anyone and everyone I run into who may be going through what I'm going through now. And there are some days where I'm coming from this understanding place where, okay, of course I need to go through this. How can I sympathize with others if I can't see through their eyes and walk in their shoes? So of course this is happening. But there are some days where I barely sleep, and I take a look at my bank account and I'm going, how much longer can I keep going? Because for instance, today was a horrible day because I had to finally go to the bank and shift funds from my savings account. I have two savings accounts. One of them is totally independent from my checking, and I label it "Don't Touch." And I've had to touch it. And I know that account is only for emergencies, and I've had to. That's exactly why I had to touch it today. And I noticed how little was left in there. I've had to borrow some money from my uncle who was going to send it to me at the end of the month because I haven't heard from unemployment yet. And all of this is just hitting at my insecurity of what if I can't get uninsurance employment? What if I can't find a job? What if this happens? What if that happens? What if I run through my money before I can start replenishing it again? So all of that is just been haunting me. And I have to admit that I some of the things that you told me to do, I'm such I get in such a state of anxiety that I've come from an anxious place. So my brain is actually louder than what I'm trying to tell myself. That's from the things that we've gone over. So I'm exhausted actually, and it feels like I'm losing the battle that I've been waging this past week since I last spoke to the both of you. And I'm a little ashamed because I'm letting my circumstances dictate my outlook, if that makes any sense.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Thank you for sharing so openly, Franco. I'm going to suggest something. And first of all, what you're experiencing, I know this well because for the last 30 years I've been self-employed. And when business was great, that was all good. And when it wasn't, I would find myself in panic mode also. And a couple things I'm going to share that helped me. At one point, this is going back about 3-4 years ago, things got really bad in my personal life to the extent that I had to declare bankruptcy. My house was in foreclosure, and I was going through divorce all at the same time. And basically, you know, it's kind of like the savings account you're talking about, like retirement money I'd put away. Basically, my former wife and I, like, burned through literally all our retirement accounts. You know, so basically, you know, there was, like, no money left. And, you know, I was going through the triple whammy of bankruptcy, foreclosure, and divorce all at the same time. It was so bad that I had to borrow money from my mom. This was in my 50s in order to pay off my ex-wife to move out of the house that was in foreclosure. You know, just to get her out of the house, I had to borrow money from my mom. And how embarrassing is that in your 50s? And I had nothing, you know, nothing left, like all the retirement money gone, like everything gone. And, you know, I had a certain amount of panic. But when I started the bankruptcy, I got this calm because, you know, at some point I just said to myself, you know, it's only money. And I got, like, you know, real world, I'm not going to starve to death. And real world, you know, even if my house gets foreclosed and sold out from under me, you know, I still will end up having a place to live. You know, it's like my own life had already, on a certain level, become a proof I was going to survive no matter what. So that kind of helped me. And I even had some of this come up like a couple of weeks ago. And one of the new tools that we're going to be sharing with you, and I'm actually preparing a couple of examples that I'm going to be posting on YouTube, is there's a way to, like, kind of get a hold of our minds and our subconscious and kind of get out of that space that you're describing, that kind of panic area. And it's by using a technique of combining video and audio and affirmations. And then there's some stuff called brain entrainment, where there's certain sounds that you play in both ears that kind of like get the mind in sync and kind of get the panic out of there. And then there's also subliminal audio, which is stuff that you don't actually hear consciously, but you can actually have affirmations going on a subliminal audio level. And all this stuff kind of like focuses and calms the mind. And I'm actually preparing a little, probably like 1 or 2 minute video that will have all these techniques on there. And I'm going to be making 2 versions of this. One that will have entrainment. So you basically hear these sounds in both ears. And this one, if you can, you want to listen to with earphones. That would be best, some kind of earbuds. So your ears actually get slightly different signals, and it kind of like syncs the brain together, as well as the subliminal audio. And then I'm going to have another version that will have the same visual, but then it's going to have some music put to it. And I'd actually like all of you, if you're interested in this, to test these out. And you can download them to your phones or your computers and play them in the morning and then play them in the evening, like before you go to bed. And it's just literally just a minute or 2 long. And then in the morning, first thing when you get up, even maybe before you get out of bed, just put on your earphones and just listen to it. And try out both the subliminal audio and brain entrainment one, and then try out the one with the music. And if that music doesn't particularly work for you, send us a message, either email us or post it on the Facebook group, because I can actually add different music tracks to the video. And I'll produce a few different versions if you want some music that works better for you. So I'm going to suggest, Franco, that you try this out. I should have that up and running by tomorrow, and see if that helps calm the mind and get you some more focus. How does that sound?
No, that sounds great. I'm willing to try anything at this
Good.
point.
Good.
And I do have to recognize. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I mean, I do have to recognize that I'm ignoring a few things, some minor positives in my life. I just wish that my brain would sometimes, I don't want to say shut off, but sometimes you shut up.
Yep. Now, this may kind of sound funny, but one of the techniques some people use when they have the situation is they actually visualize going up in their mind and finding a volume switch and literally turning down the volume switch.
Okay.
Kind of like you would a radio dial, volume dial in front of you. You just turn it down. And you could see another radio dial to the side there that has some, like, really uplifting messages. You know, maybe it's even something you had recorded and you start listening to over and over again. Because once you get some new messages in there, and you could turn up the volume on that so that you hear those. And after a while, it's like creating a new habit. And as you continue to do it over time, you'll be able to turn down the volume quicker on the messages that you don't want to hear, and you'll hear the new default you'll have is the life-affirming ones that really raise your energy up, and create some ones that are like really powerful for you, like I am alive, I am vibrant, I am really excited about my life, whatever gives you a lot of juice. And saying it with I am statements, I am creates it right here, right now. And you actually feel different as you're claiming it. You're making a declaration. You're saying, I am alive and vibrant. Even right now as I say it, internally, everyone say it, I am alive and vibrant. Just notice.
I'm alive and vibrant.
Yes. And feel in your body with what, while you're saying that, you cannot hear the other voice, Franco. That other voice cannot exist while you're saying that I am alive and vibrant.
And one thing I'm gonna suggest you do before that. Remember a couple weeks back you did some acknowledgments, Franco?
Yes.
Where we acknowledge like how deeply you really care about people. And that's just the one that comes to mind. Because I remember all the examples were about you're really caring for people. I remember there were like 3 to 5 of them. You may want to start with acknowledgments. One of the big practices that Lynetta and I do is acknowledging each other, but you don't have to have a partner for that. But what you do is in the morning you acknowledge what you really like about yourself. And then in the evening you repeat the process. So it's like qualities you like about yourself that there's no arguing with. You really look at yourself honestly, like you are a really caring person. And you do have a talent for music. And I'm not remembering the others now, but whatever those things are, to just make an acknowledgement list. And it might change every day. And acknowledge yourself first thing in the morning. And then I might follow up with exactly what Lynetta just shared and say, yes, I am alive. I am vibrant. And one of the biggest traps that our mind kind of leads us into is checking if it's true. This is like the biggest trap, because creating is not checking in. Checking in is saying, oh, is that really a true statement about me? And if we're not the way we want to be, we're stuck right there. And that's when the mind is running wild. It's literally declaring what we're declaring ourselves to be. And it has nothing to do, as you said earlier, with circumstance. I'm declaring myself to be alive and vibrant and being powerful in attracting the kind of work I want and getting unemployment if I temporarily need that and getting whatever support I need. And you don't check in and say, oh, but I'm not feeling it, or maybe it's not true. You're declaring it. It's just like earlier when Lynetta shared, she declared to herself she was going to have good peace. No matter what the cost, no matter what the time, she's having it. So you just declare. You start with your acknowledgement of yourself, and then you just declare. And a lot of times movements are really good. Like you might stand up. One of the things I was trained in my avatar training is they had us make certain statements. One of the ones I found extremely powerful for me, now Landmark doesn't like this word at all, but because of my avatar training, it totally works. And that word is decide. And they would have us make statements like, I decide. And anytime I would say that, I'd actually like thump my chest with my open hand and say, I decide. You know, it's like, I create my life. And man, the moment I do that, I just thump my chest and I say, I decide, wow, I feel totally empowered. Like there's nothing in my way the moment I do that. And you might check out, Tony Robbins does a lot of this kind of stuff. A lot of these are NLP techniques where you're kind of like melding an action with a statement and anchoring it in the body. And you may want to just play around a little bit and find what works for you. Like, you know, I decide works for me. I just feel instantly empowered when I do that one. So do acknowledgement of yourself and then these empowering statements like Lynetta shared. I would do those in the morning, and then in the evening I would do acknowledgments again, and I would also do gratitude. Actually, you could do gratitude both in the morning and the evening. So even though, you know, yes, you could go to the list of what you don't have, go to the what you do have, because that's a real retraining of the mind. So it's like, wow, you know, like what would you say right now that you do have? Did you want to share something?
Oh, yeah. There's one thing I really appreciate that we learned from our dream building training is that doing what you can with what you have right now.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. So, for example, Franco, what can you express gratitude for right now? And I can give you some examples if you want, but anything come right off the top of your head.
I have people in my life that care about what I'm going through.
Yeah.
I have people in my life who are also trying to help me find job leads.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I was able to, I had enough money to go grab a bite to eat today.
Mm-hmm.
I still have my car.
Mm-hmm.
I'm able to take a breath, a few breaths,
mm-hmm.
bunch of breaths.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I have everyone on this phone call who cares about what we're all going through,
and who care about you in particular.
Yeah.
Yes.
How many people actually, not only support you, but express gratitude to who you are and your sharing and how much it's helped them? I remember last call, I think 3 or 4 people expressed gratitude for everything that you so openly and awesomely shared.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
So everybody on this call is fully in support of you.
Mm-hmm.
And you may want to be writing down a gratitude list. And it will constantly change every day even. You know, just like Marilyn shared about, her statements get rewritten every day basically. Just, have a list, next to the bed or whatever, and your gratitudes and your acknowledgments, or on the computer or phone, just constantly update them.
And okay, Mark, this is Rachel. Can I pipe in?
Yeah, please.
It just really reminded me when, Lynetta, you said that about use what you have, to make a really big impact on your life. The most powerful place to do this, the practical, that's right underneath our everyday nose, is our next meal time. So I'm serious. Like, this is what's completely shifted my life, is even when you go into the kitchen and you just I don't have anything to eat, and then you end up creating something to eat, it really reminds you of how powerful you are, and it's helped me in particular give me life empowerment. And I just wanted to share that because so often we forget that it literally is right underneath our nose, a reminder of how much we can create something out of nothing.
Thank you, Rachel. Rachel's actually based her business, if I could share a little bit, Rachel. She's her business called the Grateful Pantry, and it really comes from literally when she was younger, there was no food in the house. She didn't have lunches when she went to school, and she has learned how to take that deep fear of not having food, which is would put you into. I've seen her be in a panic about food, and she has taken it and used it to create experiences for people in the kitchen using what they have and turning it into an amazing creation, and she's inspired people with it, and now it's become her greatest gift and her greatest tool for transformation, is using the ingredients in the kitchen as tools for life.
And money.
And money. Yes. Thank you for sharing, Rachel.
Cool.
Thank you, Rachel.
So, yeah. So, Franco, those tools feel like that's something you might want to take on and see how that helps transform that wonderful mind of yours.
Yes. My wonderful monkey mind.
Yeah.
My wonderful monkey mind.
Yeah, just to share from my own experience, I'm in my late 50s now, and for years I would say I was tortured by my mind. I just had so many thoughts, and a lot of them were what we'd call negative, worrying about you name it. And I'd say I probably had at least a good 20 years of that, in my 20s, 30s, 40s, really tortured. And now my mind is almost completely quiet. All the tools that Lynette and I have learned over the years, and it's occasionally I get in one of those states now. But boy, do I remember the days when that's mostly where my mind was, especially when, for example, money was tight, or I wasn't in a relationship and really desiring it, or a relationship was going down the tubes. I remember it well.
Thank you for sharing that, Mark, because that's really helpful. I think everybody on the call can relate to that. Because the mind, even when you're meditating or trying to quiet your mind, or even in nature, it can be quite a challenge. There's always chatter. I haven't heard one human being that doesn't have this challenge. It's what our minds do. They want to be working on a challenge. They want to be given some kind of problem to solve. Or, I often say, I'll give my monkey mind an Rubik's Cube so that it has something to do. Because it's such an active, especially if you're really high, very analytical and sharp in your mind, and a lot of us rely on our mind to even earn a living. So it's how do you shut off something that actually is a useful tool? Well, it's not really about shutting it off. It's more about how can we give our mind a default instead of defaulting to something that's really bothering us into something that's how about if your mind, the very first thought was how amazing you are and how amazing your life is. And the quicker you can catch your mind and becoming aware of what it's doing, the quicker you can do it, the quicker you'll be able to stop that thought from taking you over. It feels like the thought takes over the steering wheel of your life when you just allow it to go on and on. But what you're doing is you're consciously being aware and awake. You're taking the steering wheel, and you can literally start planting seeds of thought that will be your default. Instead of the default being something that you're not consciously choosing, what if you were to make it to where your default was, wow, my life is amazing? Wouldn't that be, and that is totally possible. I have been doing that for the last 3 or 4 days. I planted a seed in my mind, and I just made it up that I was going to plant a seed in my pineal gland, and that my default thought would be the most amazing thought. And so that I didn't have to try to use some technique to jump in and change my thought pattern. Instead, I want my default, my very first thought, to be an amazing thought. That it'll keep me in a high vibration all the time. And it's absolutely possible. Just make it up. Play pretend. Remember when we were little kids and we would play pretend, but we didn't call it pretend. We just were making up things and we were acting as if it was true. What in the world tells us that we can't do that now? Just because we're adults, we can absolutely do that now. You can plant a seed in your pineal gland and say it's true, or whatever your version is. You don't have to use mine. That's something I created that's working for me. Create something that's really powerful for you and make it up out of the thin blue sky. It's even more powerful when you create it versus using somebody else's technique. That's what I found. I really want to empower you to find a technique that works for you and then share it with us next week and tell you how this new technique that you do, that's your own creation, is way more powerful than anything we put out. That's what I want to hear from you. That would be awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. All right. We have a little bit of time left, and I want to leave time for the meditation that Lynetta's going to lead us through. At this point, what I'd like to do is turn things around and actually ask for all of you to help Lynetta and I a little bit. You know, we've been in our relationship together and coaching that we've been doing together. We've really been looking at what are all the pieces to have everything we want in life. You know, what tools do we need? What beliefs do we need? What are all the pieces to really have everything and clear out everything that's not serving us? And we've kind of outlined what looks to be like a 7-week course. And what I wanted to do is actually share like the outline with all of you and get some feedback. And you can also share via email or Facebook if you feel, you know, if you think about it after the call, some things maybe we left out that you feel are important to address. We really, really want to get all your support on this because we want to make sure we're not leaving anything out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share the outline with you. And you're welcome after each point. I'll give you the outline of the 7 points, and then I'll go into a little bit of detail that we have so far in each one. And you're welcome to jump in either, you know, while I'm doing it or afterwards, or follow up with email or on Facebook because we'd really like your input. So basically, here's what we got. The first section is going to be identifying limiting beliefs, figuring out where they come from. How do we identify ours? And Marilyn shared, you know, that she's been just like, you know, they're popping up right and left. And, you know, that's exactly what we want to do because when they're there and we don't know, they're operating behind the scenes. And we want to get to them and identify them. So we've got different ways of identifying them, including, you know, what Marilyn shared today. So that's kind of like our first section. Second section is how do we actually clear these limiting beliefs? And some of the things we're looking to focus at are some of the words that we use, like we spoke about deserving, for example, and how that word is just a completely trap word, and in our opinion should just be banished from our vocabulary. And then some of the contrast words we talked about previously, like selfish versus self-care, and what's really the difference between those words. And it's really just a matter of perspective. And then we have a list of those contrast words. And the soul view, kind of looking at life from the soul perspective and seeing all the things that have gone on. We did this also with Marilyn today, that our soul on some level has really chosen all the struggles that we've had in our lifetime. And taking that view, kind of releasing ourselves from all the negative energy we have about what's happened to us and us being victims and all that. So clearing limiting beliefs is the second section that we've come up with. And then some of the other techniques that we've also talked about, like making it bigger, which is one of the avatar techniques, really asking, is something true? I remember we did some of this with you, Franco, in the past. You know, some of the fear and other things that our mind goes to, and is it really true? There's a bunch of techniques there. So that's our second section. Third section is creating our future. And that's dealing with things like visualizations, why those don't work for most people. And probably most of us have tried visualizations in the past, and here we all are because it hasn't really given us the life we want. And why using all the senses, not just visualizing, is so important. And that's actually what Lynetta is going to do for us. We're going to talk about using vision, hearing, feeling, even tasting and smelling to really create that vision for us and how that actually works. And that section is also going to be about the difference between having versus wanting, acknowledgments, which we went over today, and then putting it all together with these movies that the videos that I'm going to actually post hopefully by tomorrow for you to look at on our Ablaze YouTube page. That'll kind of give you a feel for using as many senses as possible. Obviously, taste and smell is a little tougher to put in on a video, but we're going to incorporate as much as we can. And also getting your no and your yes, which we've spoken about a little bit on calls also. So kind of creating that future vision and what's really needed to do that, to juice it up so it really creates our reality. That's the third section. And then we had in mind to actually have individual sessions on what I call the big four: love, money, health, and peace. And really identifying each of those areas, what are the most common limiting beliefs that we all have, and identifying them and clearing them. And then in that area, creating that vision, again, using all the senses of what we want in our lives. So to do that in the four major areas: love, money, health, and peace. And that would be like a session each on each of those four. So could we get a little feedback from you all right now, and just about 5-10 minutes max, and then Lynetta will do her meditation to close out tonight's session. Who would like to jump in?
And while you're about to jump in, and you can interrupt me when you're ready to jump in, since we have quiet time right now, I just want to fill it in. While you think about what you would like to manifest for this coming week, and I would like to have 3 people that are going to give me an idea of what they want to manifest, and I'm going to put it into the guided meditation.
Well, hi, Mark and Lynetta. This is Sonia.
Okay.
I just wanted to. Hi, I wanted to, as I'm looking through your 7-week course, I'm really liking the flow of it because it really starts from the limiting beliefs part to be able to create your perfect vision.
And I like how you are doing your sections on love, money, wealth, health and peace. So I like that. And taking the full session for each of those, because that can really keep people focused. So I'm really, really interested and I really like that. So I just wanted to put that out there.
Thank you.
Great. Is there anything you feel that's missing? Something we're not covering that we ought to?
Not that I can think of right now, but if I do, I'll let you know.
Great. Thank you. Thank you. Really appreciate that feedback. Okay. Who else would like to share? What maybe feels good, what doesn't? So are you all stunned that it's just such an earth-shattering, fabulous program?
I think it's this is Franco.
Yeah.
I think it's difficult for me to get very explicit with a lot of this because it's still relatively new. A lot of the concepts have been presenting, and and there's some days where it's really overwhelming, and I have to go over the recordings on YouTube for me to even try to break it down further so I can make it as basic as I can for me. So I think that's where, for me, the difficulty lies in trying to give feedback, because I'm still trying to absorb and make it like second nature, like breathing. I think maybe if I were to add to this, and again, this is just off the top of my head, I guess my challenge is getting past the first hump, which is the limiting belief. Because if I can't get beyond that, I can't do any type of visualization successfully.
Right.
Because I'm not really believing what I'm trying to attract into my life, because my limiting beliefs are still so strong. They still have a bit of an influence on me.
We've done some work with you, Franco, on clearing limiting beliefs. Have those been useful for you, or do you find there's some other way that's more powerful for you?
There are some days where they are very effective and they nullify, even for a short while, my inner voice. And there are some days where my anxiety is so great that nothing, until my anxiety passes, nothing drowns out the voice or voices or the insecurity or whatever you'd like to call it. It's just some good days where I win the battle, and there's some bad days where I lose ground as I'm trying to fight for more ground, if that makes sense. Let me ask you one particular. I remember you had shared about your father basically saying you'll never be successful. So now I understand, you're dealing with what you're dealing with, but are you still hearing that particular limiting beliefs, or are there other ones? Like, is that one still a problem for you, for example? It's not as much, ironically, well, it's not even irony, it's just actually relief. Where I don't hear that voice as often, and my friend and I have talked about it. She's helped me time and again, because she's a bit of a counselor herself. She believes that the attachment and the influence that my father had on me, a lot of it's gone because he's passed away, and I'm only dealing with remnants of his presence. There's not even a ghost left. So, in a way, his passing has, I don't want to say freed me, because that sounds really wrong, but it has helped to diminish that voice. But I think what still there for me is that voice where if we hadn't made these choices, we wouldn't be suffering now. Or how are we going to get ourselves out of this predicament?
Okay.
I don't see. You see what I'm saying? I don't see a way out.
Right. Okay, so those are different limiting beliefs then. So that other one seems like that one's mostly cleared at this point, the one having to do with your father.
I guess it boils down to having faith that the universe is there to. You know what? That's not what I've been struggling with. People have been telling me that you have to have faith that life is there to support you, that the universe is there to support you, and that belief, that faith, I just don't have it.
Yeah. Yeah.
If that makes any sense.
Oh yeah, I've had the same view for most of my life, Franco.
Yeah.
So I totally get that.
Yeah, and the come from with that is this universe has not been a safe place for you.
And supportive place.
And a supportive place.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So to suddenly shift it to believing that I may be mistaken, it's hard to believe that.
Without supporting evidence.
Exactly,
no
yes.
supporting evidence.
Because I have to have something that I have had a hard time generating, which is faith. And I'm not talking faith in a religion, it's just faith overall.
No, got it. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's really faith in your creating power. And it really, that's almost like a muscle. It's sort of, and it's, backwards the way we do this, because basically you declare something to be, and then it manifests for you. In fact, Wayne Dyer had a great book. It was one of his first books, and it was called You'll See It When You Believe It.
That's a great title. Oh, my God.
Uh-huh. So it's like you start, and it's one of his, it's quite old, probably 20, 30 years ago he wrote that one. But basically, you start with the belief, you start with the faith, you start with the declaration. That's the word I usually prefer to use. And then the world gets created from that. And literally, this is proven in quantum physics that our looking at something, literally even looking at something, influences the behavior of matter. So it's scientifically proven, even though it's not in the common language of people, and most people don't understand it to be this way. The quantum physicists actually do totally believe this, that we create reality. So on a certain level, you have to take it on faith that it's that way, but there's a lot of scientific evidence to support you.
Franco, I'm just going to throw this out there that you start with something simple, like a glass of water. Just in the moment right now, you don't have a glass of water in your hand. That's the fact, right? That's the evidence you have. You just don't have a glass of water in your hands right now. Can you go manifest a glass of water? Yeah, probably. Do you have any supporting evidence right now that you have the glass already in? Can you shut your eyes and actually feel the glass and imagine the glass of water in your hands?
Yes.
Okay. Can you have faith that you could possibly have a glass of water in your hands?
Yes.
Okay. So that's where you start. You start with training wheels. Like, you're not going to just start with the hardest thing in the world. Like, you're going to be, tomorrow morning you're going to wake up and you're going to be a millionaire. That is a stretch. Yeah?
Yes.
So why not start with something really small, like a glass of water, and then literally dive into the feeling and experience of what it's like to walk into the kitchen, grab a glass, and do it real slow and say, I am declaring, I am having a glass of water. Just try declaring it and then getting the glass and filling it with water, and as you drink in the sweet success of having that glass of water, even though 5 seconds ago you didn't have proof that you had the glass of water in your hand. Did that work? Maybe just try it out.
Okay, great. Thank you, Franco. So for everybody else on the call, if you'd be kind enough to, send some feedback, either email or on Facebook, that would be very appreciated because we really, we so believe in everybody having complete freedom, having a quiet mind, and really having, all the love you want, all the money, perfect health, peace, everything. And, we want to have a program that, covers all the bases. So if you could give us that feedback, that would be great. So the last thing we're going to do then is Loretta's going to take us through a little meditation where we're going to do that full body, so to speak, using all the senses to create what we want.
Yes, and I'd like to have, if I could have 3 people, and I'm going to select them just so we can do this quickly, and I know we have good reception from Franco. So, Franco, can I have you give me just a one sentence on something you'd like to manifest this week so I can put it into the meditation?
Something material or an event?
Anything.
Anything at all.
What do you really want? What's the first thing that comes to your mind?
Yeah.
I'd really like to get another job.
Okay.
Okay. Find a job. Okay. All right. And thank you. And Sophie, are you still on the call? Can you give me something that you'd like to manifest this week? You there? Well, let's go with Rachel. Rachel, are you available?
Yep, I'm right here.
Okay, can you give us something that you'd like to manifest this week?
Cash.
Cash. Okay. All right. Cash.
Darn it, I should have said that. Is that too late? Am I too late?
No, you have gas too. Okay. I'm sure Rachel would be glad to share after she manifests hers.
Thank you, Rachel.
I'd like to manifest Karen. And Sonia, can you add in something you want to manifest this week?
Sure. I am looking to have more time with my family.
Okay. Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Awesome. Let's get comfortable. Take some nice deep breaths. Be comfortable in your seat. Close your eyes. Let your shoulders drop down away from your ears. Feel your jaws loosen. 2 deep belly breaths. Full belly. As you inhale, your belly gets full. When you exhale, you sigh. Just letting go. And feel your body sink deeper into your feet as you take these breaths. Take another full belly breath. Inhaling, big belly. And exhale, let the shoulders drop even more, the jaws even relax more, the mind becomes still and quiet, and letting go every breath. And feeling your mind soften and relax as though every thought is floating on a pink cloud and drifting very gently. We're just going to allow any of the thoughts to come up that might want to carry us away from this meditation. We're going to just turn it down on a very low volume, down to 2, 1, very low. And we're going to really focus on the words and bring the volume up on this guided meditation. And you have a bubble around you, so any noises going on around you, just they won't affect the meditation. In fact, they'll help you to even deepen. And as you visualize and imagine that you are holding piles and piles of cash in your arms. Cash that feels really good in your arms. And it's so overflowing over your arms that it's spilling off onto the floor and filling the entire room. It's very comfortable. Notice how you're actually really comfortable with this much cash flowing into your life. You have to give you more time with your family. And you're able to get a job, find a job, or actually magnetize a position toward you. And they're actually looking for you. You have no idea how they found you, but somebody had been talking about you, and it was like a perfect place. They had been looking for someone just like you, and it's amazing how they even found you. And in the moment, while you're feeling this amazing position and all this time with your family and all of this cash, you imagine you're drinking that wonderful glass of water. That glass of water that you manifested. And you remember back to when you first learned how to really consciously manifest a glass of water and how that was your first step towards manifesting the cash, the time with your family, this amazing new position that you're working in that you love with a passion. And isn't it amazing how starting with one simple step of just manifesting a glass of water could turn into being such a huge tool in your life? And notice the music that you're playing in the background as you're drinking this refreshing glass of water. Maybe you squirted a little lemon in your water, maybe a little leaf of peppermint or spearmint. How refreshing it is to drink this water and hear your favorite melodies in the background. And taste the mint. Have the mint actually land on your tongue, and you could taste it just like awakening your tongue. And the little bit of lemon that you just squirted into your water, notice how you're getting that taste of a little tang in there, and how it gives your tongue a zesty feeling. And notice how the music that's playing is like perfectly synchronizing with this feeling and taste. And it's like it's all blending everything in together. So you have beautiful colors you're seeing, the beautiful vibrant yellow on the lemon. You're seeing this deep, rich green of the mint leaf. And the crystal clear water. It's like the cleanest, clearest water you've ever drank in your life. If you've ever imagined water could taste this pure and enlivening and refreshing and vibrant. And the cash is just so, it's like comforting white, fluffy pillows all around you. You're just kind of leaning into your piles of cash like you would a soft, warm pillow. It's like, oh, wow, it's so comforting and peaceful. And notice how there's just no stories anymore. This idea of limiting beliefs just doesn't even exist in your world anymore. You're just so comfortable with your new gifts of manifesting through tasting your water and the mint and the lemon and the sound of the melody and resting on your piles of cash is so comforting and comfortable. You have more time with your family than you could ever imagine was possible. And all the wonderful things you're able to do because you have that money available. It gives you freedom. It gives you the time with your family and loved ones. It's giving you the ability to create new events and exercises and experiences that you never imagined were possible. All of this through manifesting a simple glass of water. Who knew that was possible? Wow. Isn't it amazing? And so now we're going to come back into the feeling of sitting on the seat. Feel your toes and fingers wiggling. Take a deep breath. Feel your roots at the bottom of your feet are deeply grounded into the earth. You're very present, awake and aware, alert. And all of these tools from this meditation are deeply embedded into your cells and your DNA, and they'll be readily available for you in a moment's notice. You can just snap your fingers and have all these tools available. They're anchored in your body.
And so it is.
And so it is.
So thank you all
for
being on this wonderful call and sharing so openly. And again, we'd really like to get your feedback on what we're planning to do for the future, so if you could email us or on Facebook, contact us about that. And my intention is by tomorrow to have posted these videos on our YouTube channel. So watch for an email with that. And what I would suggest is if you hit the subscribe to our channel, there's going to be a little subscribe button on the upper right on every video. Then every time we post something new, you'll automatically get notice about that. And you can download these to your own computers and phones as well.
I'd also like to invite you, we had in the email a link to the Facebook page, Hi, Loving Connections, and it's the opportunity for us to all meet together in person. If you're available for that, we'd love to have you.
In the Bay Area, yeah, we're having a private retreat this weekend, very inexpensive, just covering expenses. And anybody who would like to join us is invited.
Yes.
Yes. All right. So thank you all, and we'll talk to you next week. Great and magnificent week.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye.